everyone. Welcome to Appliance Advisers with Yale Appliance. I'm Francesco, joined as always by Dennis. How's it going this week, Dennis?
It's going great, Fran. How about you?
Very good. So last week we had a little bit of a different episode. It was really good. We had the guys from Divine Stoneworks in Ashland talking all things countertops. And I'll be honest, I learned a ton. I'm sure you did. We had a lot of questions. We had some hurt feelings, a lot of really good questions from the audience for those guys, left and right questions everywhere. So hopefully you guys got some leftover questions for us this week. We're going to go back to just talking about appliances, I guess.
Probably the most exciting thing most people want to talk about.
Right? Guess well, maybe, countertops might be a little more exciting. But listen, first off, before we get into business here, we got Halloween on Monday. Favorite candy? What do you got? We got to ask. What is it?
Man, it's easy, man. You go Kit Kat every time.
Kit Kat, all right.
It's just enough. And the good news is they're light and airy, so you can have about 50 of them.
That's the excuse, right?
Yeah.
So listen, traditional Reese's, love it, but my one kind of under the scene, under the radar candy, definitely Payday. Love the Paydays. I don't know why.
Paydays, they still make those things.
Yeah,
right?
No clue why. Nobody likes Paydays. You can never find them anywhere.
So the good news is you always have a plethora of Paydays. If it's a good, no one wants the thing.
Yeah, but I scour my children's bags every Halloween. They never come back with any Paydays, for God's sake. So
I will say this last thing. If we knew we were going to be talking about Halloween candy, Steve Scheinkoff, who has a secret sweet tooth, would have been a great person to get on here. I mean, he has the old whatchamacallits. He would have brought out some really cool candy.
The old school ones.
Oh, the old school, yeah.
We got a note from Shannon behind the scenes as well. She's got the Sour Patch Kids. So
good, yeah.
There we go. All right. Back to appliances.
Good question.
So this week we're gonna kind of go back. We have a lot of good questions, kind of from that we haven't really answered over the last couple of weeks. Some good questions that have come throughout the week, and we got a little bit of a different segment going on, if you will, kind of towards the end, where we're going to help with some problems and hopefully give you some solutions here. So let's tee up the first question for this week. So our first question, really kind of going back. We've talked a lot about really over more than a year for the last couple of years about dishwashers and really kind of the significant delays and back orders, really when it comes to European dishwashers like Bosch and Miele. Has there been any updates there? Anything you're seeing? Any relief coming on those brands specifically?
Yes. Fortunately, and there's not many of us, honestly, in the country because it's expensive to do and probably doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of operational sense in terms of just on the basics of business, but in terms of customer satisfaction, you have to. We own a massive warehouses. They're very expensive to do, but we were fortunate enough to be able to order products when most dealers rely on the manufacturer to be their stock, to hold their stock, which just hasn't been there. So back in 2021, we hedged our bets. We tripled our average annual dishwasher estimates with brands like Bosch and Miele, and we actually have them in stock. I won't say we have the full lineup, but I will tell you that right now you can't even place a Bosch and Miele dishwasher order at any dealer in the United States unless they physically owned it. The portals are actually shut down to receive orders, so we're in a quite fortunate spot. But through a lot of hard work, and these are when the warehouses come to your benefit. So if you're in that market, we certainly have some. We still tell people, listen, they move as fast as they land, but it's kind of a positive thing for us. But for the rest of the country, you can't place orders. So if anyone's taking your order on a Bosch or Miele dishwasher right now, call the manufacturers and ask, can you actually place an order? They can't. So they're taking your money and misleading you. So just to know.
Yeah, no question. I can attest. The second we get those, those are flying out the door because there's been just so much pent up demand for those that they are flying out as soon as they come in. Yep. So great to hear that they're slowly starting to get a few here. So next, we're going to kind of go into plumbing and talk faucets. And we're starting to, faucets definitely kind of go with trend and design, and we're starting to see a lot more different decorative finishes, mixed metals, brass. We're seeing a lot of that out there now, and you see a lot of this stuff online, even on Amazon, different websites, some of the big box stores. So, and you see really price points all over the place. Why would someone spend a little bit more for a better brand when they see some of those cheaper ones online? What are the differences there?
Yeah, the reality of it is plumbing has become a whitewashed industry. And what I mean by that is there's very few factories, actually. You hear a lot of brands and names made by the same Chinese manufacturers or overseas. I shouldn't just say China, but Asian manufacturing facilities half the time. And candidly, you pay more for honestly very average to below average quality to what most of us were used to, quote unquote, growing up. We've actually changed our direction more recently, as we are a large plumbing house of kitchen plumbing, and we've really pushed our business more to the brands of Waterstone, the brand Galley. And then we have a few faucets in our own private label strategy, just a couple of basic ones. For the folks that we do appreciate that people sometimes want a price point, we always still continue to tell people, listen, our price point pieces are as good as anything you're going to buy out there, right? But at least we control the experience. And if you do have an issue, we can deal with it. But the reason why you'd spend more would be where are they made? So a brand like Waterstone is handmade in the United States. The finishes, the quality of the finishes, the variety of the finishes, and more just the quality of the faucet. I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but if you picked up a Waterstone faucet, Fran, you've done it. I mean, It is probably 5 times heavier, easily 5 times heavier than an average same shaped faucet in a Delta, in a Moen, in a Growy, in a name the brand, So you get what you pay for, and sometimes when people are shopping, you think about a faucet. If most people are being honest in this, they've replaced their faucets quite a few times in their house, whether it's their bathroom faucet or their main faucet. Brands like Roll used to be great brands. They've been sold to venture capitalist companies, and that's what's happened to most of these brands. They're no longer the brands we grew up with. They have been sold off to VC plays that just want to make their money back out of the product, and they do that by making it look good but cheapening the actual quality of the brand. So I would tell you spend good money, because that plumber or the person that you have to pay to install it is expensive. And over the lifetime, if it's a house you're going to stay in, and honestly, it is kind of like the picture frame to your kitchen. This is something you see. It's very visual. It's on your counters, many times in your island. Clean linear design, and people see this faucet. So get one you like, that it's quality, that's going to hold up. So you're just not short-sighted to say I'll shortchange and get a cheap one today, and realize you had to replace 3 of them and pay plumbers 3 times, so on and so forth. Basic math.
Absolutely. You can definitely feel the difference, like you said. And that's one of those things that, when you're looking online, from a picture from afar, they all, they kind of looks the same, but it's certainly one of those things that when you see it, and especially in your home, and I've seen these in homes, how really great they work. And you can certainly see and feel the difference on there for sure.
And then lead times. Right now, in the middle of COVID, because this stuff is coming from overseas, the lead times are outrageous. So even though it was inexpensive, you can't get it. So last minute, you end up, just getting whatever you can get your hands on, and you still spent the same money. And now you don't even like what the aesthetic value of it. So with a brand like a Waterstone or a Galley, we see stock, or we see an 8 to 12 week lead time, even on a very customized finished one. At least you can plan around that. And we stock some, so it's just kind of the way you should go. I think don't spend good money after bad trying to initially just save a few dollars on a less expensive option, not knowing the lifetime cost of the product.
All right. So we actually have a ventilation question here from Boston Bob, and it's a good one. So, I need approximately 1,000 CFMs for a Wolf cooktop I have from Yale, of course. I have a Zephyr hood that can accommodate either an inline blower or an external blower. Any advice on which one you would go with?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if all things are possible, an inline blower is ideal because of the push and then pull action. In terms of just raw performance, it's going to be the best performing. The things you need to think about there is it needs to be accessible. Okay. The other benefit is it's in the house, right? So in an external blower mounted outside, Yale will not climb on your roof to fix a blower. So if you had an issue, that's probably one of the only few times that Yale say we don't climb on roofs. Okay. An exterior blower can be mounted on the outside wall of a house. If we can access it easily, we would service it there. But many times it is put on the actual roof line of the house. But an inline blower would be ideal. The challenges with an inline blower is they're big. They require a hatch or some way to access them. If you're putting it in your attic, then great, you can do it there. But the inline blower is both quiet inside the home to repair, so we never have to even worry about elements or where it is outside. And it is, in theory, the best performing from a suction standpoint. The external blower would be next, and really the challenge there is visually, where does it go? Is it in eyesight of a deck or a back patio area or the side of your house? You got to think about that, because more people don't think about how the exterior blower is actually going to look from the outside. They're just so focused on performance, and then now it gets mounted. They come home and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we never even thought of this. What do we do now?" So that'll be it. I go inline first, then exterior, and then external. You could. I mean, I will just say this. I don't know which one you did. Yale does have its own private label offering of hoods, which are phenomenal. I think, honestly, in a lot of cases, better than Zephyr, which is a good hood line. But the beauty of this one, Bob, is our new, depending on the model, Pro line of hoods and our inserts. How cool is this? 1,000 CFM interior blower. That's how it comes inside the hood. That blower can then be removed. It's made to be removed, and it can be mounted internally or externally. So you buy one hood, and it can do all 3 applications. All you then buy is an accessory shroud. So if you're going on the outside of the hood, the blower sits on something that can mount to the outside of the hood, just like you'd buy. Or an inline is just a box that would sit in. So the beauty of that is you have every possible option open to you with our new Pro lines. That's the number one issue. Someone buys, they buy a hood, they buy an exterior blower, they get home, they hate it. They don't like where it's going to go. The contractor said he could put it here, now he can't. The beauty is you're returning nothing. The world's your oyster. You can put it back inside the hood. You can put it in line. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. It was a kind of a cool design we've been working on for a long time.
Definitely a really cool thing now. So next topic, not sure something anybody would think we'd talk about in an appliance podcast, but artificial intelligence. So, you're starting to see a lot more AI features on appliances, really specifically laundry starting to come a lot more too. Yeah. What are the benefits of having that as a feature?
Yeah, I mean, so AI is kind of cool. Listen, I could use AI seriously in laundry. I'm not a great laundry person, as my wife will remind me almost daily, like don't touch laundry, period. But the AI features are coming out. Really, LG is the one pioneering a lot of these. I think you'll start to see it in more and more brands like GE and whatnot. Yeah. But really what it does is in the wash, it senses. The concept is that it can sense the material of the clothes based on the friction or the resistance against the drum as it's washing, okay? And by sensing that material, it can sense the temperature of the water it should use, the spin speed, how many wash revolutions per minute to be really gentle or actually go faster for things that are more tough and resistant. And the cool part there is it then talks to your dryer in theory, right? So it's Bluetooth connected to your dryer, and it's actually telling your dryer and predetermining the dry cycle, which is really many times some of the most harsh things we do to laundry, and it's predetermining that cycle. So you just put it in the dryer and hit start. So really kind of cool. You're going to see it's out today. You'll see more and more of it in some really cool sets that we just set up on our store plans for some new LG 6700 sets of laundry, and it's coming in the 4000. So this AI is going to be something that you're going to see more and more of. So for someone that's not great at laundry, or if you have kids, or you kind of can't screw it up in theory. It's doing it for you, dispensing the right amount of detergent, temperature, spin speed, and then setting up your dryer. Why not?
Yeah, and then constantly learning from it too. The more cycles you do, the more it's learning, the more it kind of learns the type of clothes you do, the type of detergent you use. So really kind of something that, we'll see a lot more in the future. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
So next thing, we're starting to see a lot more, and really through COVID, you really saw this too, was air purification and those the little air purifiers out there, and you're seeing them really gaining a lot more popularity. Do you recommend these? And if so, is there any specific brand and models, things like that you really kind of look at?
Yeah, so air purifiers were a big thing. So honestly, they're a small commodity item. They're something that candidly stores don't make really much money on them. And that's why you don't see them in many stores anymore, even when you go to Target or somewhere like that. And when you do, you see brands like a Samsung or, some other off brands that are out there, Hoover, there's a lot of vacuum brands got into that business. But those are the brands that they make the most money on. Truth be told, the best air filter out there is a Sharp plasma cluster machine. It's in the NASA rockets, when they go into the area. Seriously, it's what scrubs the air. So that unit is great. We've just picked it up, and we've picked it up primarily because customers are asking us all the time. And the ones that we had access to at the time are really focused on. We didn't focus on it. One, you didn't make any money, and two, they weren't really air purifiers. They were masking smell. Per AHAM, governing agency that will validate that an air purifier can do what it's going to say it can do on the box, right? The industry standard for purifying air is one time through the air filter in 24 hours, meaning if it's going to make a claim that it can do 2,000 square feet of air scrubbing, it needs to be able to move that amount of air in a 24-hour period one time through its filter. So when you look at some of the Sharp systems we sell, that, you know, we're talking to retail like $499. We have another one that sells for $179. Not expensive. It's doing two things. The first thing it does is it has positive ions that actually go out into the environment, attach to the actual the mold, dust, dander, microbe, and kind of weigh it down and pull it so that the air purifier can pull it back through. So where most are just passive, meaning the air has to go through the filter, this does that, of course, but it also goes out and is attacking and trying to find those things. So in that unit, what Sharp it also then does is its standard is not one time through the filter. Its standard is 4 times through the filter in a 24-hour period. So true HEPA filtration, carbon filtration, positive ion going out into the air. It's the real deal. I will say I did, and I bought them just like a consumer would. I actually bought 8 of them. That's how much? No, I'm being serious. I did. I bought 4 full-size units that will do up to 2,400 square feet. My home is not 10,000 square feet. Okay, but the reality of it is, to go 4 times through the filter, it's equivalent to 500 square feet. So I would put one there, and then I would put a small one for a bedroom in the bedrooms. We have a dog. He's a great dog. He's a super clean dog, but I swear my wife is a bloodhound and smells everything. So, we put these scrubbers in, and I've been off the hook for a couple of weeks since we put them in. Additionally, though, you talk about COVID resurging, as we're going to probably continue to say that forever. But now influenza is really big. Flu's coming, new strands. People are getting sick. So, and then again, just allergies. So I think there's so many reasons to do it. It's a really cool system. We could get into how it works and everything else. I mean, it's really great. It's Wi-Fi enabled, smart. You can turn it on remotely. It'll auto do it based on it'll sense the air. You can do an express mode where it ramps up for 8 hours, then shuts back down to the last cycle you were on. It has a nighttime feature, so it's quieter at night. They're really cool. They're great. We're in it. We have them. I can tell you, I've used them. I absolutely bought 8 of them. I'll show you my invoice. That's how much I believe in them. No deal there. And they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely something people are way more cognizant of just through COVID and things like that. You just think about those things way more. There's no question about it. So next question.
Let's go to a couple of these. Let's go to AM, Diaz, DVM. Okay. RO, reverse osmosis filtration is something I recommend, honestly, not for many people. Most tubing and piping in New England homes are still copper, and reverse osmosis will eat right through the copper. It'll eat through the fixture coppers of a washing machine if there's any copper in there. So you really got to be attention. I mean, reverse osmosis, in theory of true stripping the water of everything, it does. I mean, the technology is there, but the havoc it wreaks on the internal components of both plumbing, right down to the fixture level, whether it's a washer, whether it's a faucet, I would highly recommend you do an awful lot of research there. I've never seen it go well. So you don't see it honestly sold very often in Massachusetts. Other parts of the area, California, they do a lot of reverse osmosis. So I don't know where you're from, but you don't see much of it here in New England because of the piping. Let's go to play nice games for a minute. So the question there was ThinQ. Why do they call it ThinQ and not Think? Great question. Don't have a good answer to that. I'll talk to Sam Kim, the president, and tell him maybe Think just makes sense. You know what? It makes a lot of sense, play nice games, because I'll tell you right now, I always forget the Q part. I'm like, what do you call it? Think think smart. I understand the entire concept, but you make a good point. We should just call it Think. That would help me out a lot too. Let's go to Mike D. Mike D asks a question. Are you really just paying for a name and a style with the SMEG? Or are the alternative similar styled retro ones on the Frigidaire more economical? I mean, I get it with Pro Rangers or other brands, like Sub-Zero, but it goes on, so I'll just keep saying like Sub-Zero, not the same with everything. Honestly, Mike, SMEG is an awful brand. Its quality is not good. You're paying 100% for the style. And when you see the Frigidaire versions of those are European, a couple of European factories. There's only a couple, and everyone is putting their own aesthetic value to it. So yes, you are paying 100% for style. I am going to tell you though, it is great. It is if you want to SMEG them, buy a Fisher Paykel, truly made by its company, similar style type. But that retro is out there. But I'm going to tell you, it's the same couple of factories, just putting their own verbal brand language, as they call it, their own aesthetic value to it. And you're buying what you like the look of. But in terms of quality, they're not. Not just SMEG, but that Frigidaire version, or there's another company out there, Big Q, or I always forget its name. There's a bunch of them out there you'll see. Ilve, these types of brands, they're just knockoffs. You just read the reviews on the quality, and it's like zero. So, form over function. I always tell people, where are you at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is the aesthetic value that important that you're going to replace it 5 and 10 times, or can you get something? I'll tell you right now, if you're buying a SMEG, you can buy a Fisher Paykel in a similar price range and a different quality. They actually make it.
We got another one from Kathy here too. I think that's a good question to answer. And she says, I'm currently building our house and will be completed September 2023. When would be a good time to buy appliances and get a good deal? Looking into the cafe line from GE.
Kathy, great question. Might not like this great answer, but it's an honest one. The time to buy appliances was yesterday for everyone that's on this call. So I will tell you that if you look at a traditional Black Friday, many times Black Fridays this time last year had 10 or 15 items on Black Friday where they might normally have 2,000 or 3,000. Right now, most brands have 200, 100 going on Black Friday. And truth be told, many of the Black Friday deals are not all that different from what we're selling at every day at retail right now, right? You would think, the economy's slowing, supply and demand. We will be able to make more money or have better deals because the market slows. That is not happening in the appliance industry. Quite the opposite. I'm going to tell you that I've heard that GE is going to have a price increase. I don't know that confirmed, but I believe they will. Bosch just had one in the last few weeks. Thermador just had one. Who else just announced one?
Gaggenau had one.
Did Miele just announced?
We'll have one. Yeah.
Miele just announced. So the point I'm saying is that those price increases, you're talking, anywhere from 6 to 10 to 12%.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is this, Kathy, that for most of us, we don't even have notice. So before I could read those tea leaves for you, and I'd say the best time to buy would be Black Friday, or the best time to buy would be July 4th. And those days are over. The reality for most appliance retailers is they could close their doors tonight, wake up tomorrow morning, turn on their computer, and there's an email in their inbox, is true, saying your price has just gone up 13% effective this morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard. So yes, I could have you in here yesterday, had given you a price at 6 o'clock, and by tomorrow morning, your price just jumped 13%. That's real. If you're watching the news, we continue to have issues over in Europe. There's spikes again in COVID. Supply and demand are down. Factories were running at a fast clip. It's still fractured. I don't think you will get to normalcy or some semblance. I'm not even talking 100% normalcy, 75, 80% normalcy, and a level of pricing that we could answer that question accurately until first quarter of 2024. I think that's where we're heading. So all of 23 is a problem. And I tell you, don't wait, because the pent-up demand for Black Friday, because we're conditioned to feel like that's the deal day, you get at the back of that line. All of this works on FIFO, first in, first out for orders. So if you wait for everyone to realize, oh my gosh, I saved $63 on this. Awesome. But you waited 4 more months because everyone went to claim the $63. So you got to time that. What's the timing cost to be missing your deadline on occupancy or your stress level? What is that worth? The days of deals on appliances in the middle of COVID really don't exist quite as much anymore. You should probably be asking different questions about who's going to execute to my date, who's going to be honest about what will be available, who's going to work with me to work through what can be a dicey supply chain. Does the dealer I'm going to buy from actually have stock? Can they deliver it? Can they help me execute what is going to be a tricky project? Not to be depressing on you, but it's just being honest with you. Okay.
Let's keep going with these questions. Maybe the guilt trip worked here. We're getting a lot of questions today. So Logan asked, I'm looking at ordering a Sub-Zero Classic fridge. It looks like they're updating this line for 2023. Any idea if it's worth waiting longer? I want the glass window, and true residential isn't in the budget.
Yeah. So let me just read that again. So I think if I still think Sub-Zero is the best built refrigerator. I do. I think True's doing a great job. We don't have history in their residential side, but I think they're getting there. I think if you're asking me that question and you can answer this question for me, is that this kitchen and project is a project you are going to be living in that home and enjoying that space for the indefinite future with no short-term thought of leaving. If you're going to be putting wood panels on it that cost lots of money and customizing cabinets to have this effect and look, you're probably not ripping those cabinets out in 10 years because they're beautiful cabinets. If you're going to live with this, then I think waiting for the piece that we know is proven to work. What Sub-Zero is really doing is going to the new R600 standard, which is a new gas standard that's more environmentally friendly. The units also have the benefit generally of, from what we're told, of lasting longer. It's a little easier on the whole compressor system. New lighting package, some new interior shelving lighting, and so there are some benefits, as well some different sizes depending on what you're looking at. If you're looking at columns or built-in sizes in terms of height and rough openings. So if it were me and I could answer the fact that it was a long-term home, I would buy a Sub-Zero. It's just me. We also, I mean, I love thermal refrigerators. I love, SKS makes a great fridge. There's a lot of Fisher Paykel. There's a lot of good units out there. It's just you're specifically asking about Sub-Zero. If you could wait, I think you should wait if that's the brand you're asking me about. Yeah.
And we can go to Jennifer's question real quick here too. Back to faucets. Are brands like Kohler and Moen using overseas production?
1,055%, and they've been using it forever. And Kohler does a great job, by the way. Beautiful design. Don't get me wrong. 100% coming from overseas, like all of it.
Yep.
All of it. Yep.
All right. So next question, kind of teeing up, going back to dishwashers and talking about KitchenAid dishwashers. So this person asks here, a friend recommended a KitchenAid dishwasher and I want to put a panel on it. Is that something you would recommend?
Absolutely. I say this all the time, but this is coming up a lot now. Remember we told you earlier, most stores do not have, 99.9% of stores can't place a Bosch order, can't order a Miele. They haven't been able to for over a year and won't be able to indefinitely. And those were the classic brands when we paneled them we used. So KitchenAid is coming up. One, because it's available. Not that it's an awful dishwasher, but it is never something you should put a panel on. Let me say it again. Ever, 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 ever.
Yep.
Anyone putting a panel on a dishwasher, I have to imagine, wants it to look like a cabinet. They want it to be flush, and it will never be flush with your cabinets. You will see all the black sides. It sticks out 3/4 of an inch beyond your cabinet fronts. And if you're doing an inset cabinet or a full overlay cabinet, particularly an inset, it looks awful. It's 100% return rate. If we sell a KitchenAid dishwasher, we have disclosure all over them and paneled. It is a special order. Basically, it's almost like every time I'm going to call you and be like, are you sure we want to do this? Because you can't call me and try to return this thing because it is not going to work. I've had architects tell me they can make it happen. Oh, wait till you see my guys. I got a little man in the garage. He's making this stuff and he's amazing and he's a craftsman, and he probably is. Every time it sticks out. So the answer is American dishwashers have zero business being paneled, period, ever. They will stick out. And when that changes, I believe there will be a time that they realize, hey, if we want to be in this space, we got to be flush. It just makes common sense. That's what those European brands do. Okay.
Got it. Back to plumbing. So the next question, this is definitely something we see a lot and really down, the South Shore, Cape Cod especially. It's, I have a septic system and I want to add a disposal. InSinkErator makes one called Septic Assist. Is that something we would recommend?
No. Nope. So having had septic systems in 3 homes in a row, I will tell you 2 things. Just a real quick blurb on it because I'm passionate, because I've been a septic flunky. I've taken a system that was in perfect working order, put a disposal in. We both hugged it out and promised ourselves that we'd only put veggies in there, just light stuff, right? And let me tell you, invariably with kids, crazy lives, just someone else using your faucet for a minute and not knowing you have protein goes down there. And what kills a system is proteins. Proteins kill the good bacteria that you need to break down the solids that are in your septic system. Okay. So what this Septic Assist was brilliant marketing. We know that adding enzymes can help a septic system. It does. If you have it pumped, a lot of people will continue to put good bacteria in there for aiding in breaking down solids. This disposal said, hey, every time we turn on, we're gonna shoot a little bit of this stuff in there. Well, there's no magic to let you know when that little cartridge, which they get you for, that you need to continue to buy for the lifetime of that disposal, which is grossly overpriced versus buying bulk and just adding it to, say, a toilet and flushing or down a drain to get it into your septic system. The problem with the InSinkErator is it spins at roughly 1,725 RPM. That's not that fast. So what are the downsides? Well, when it spins at 1,700 RPM, the warranty on that unit's only a year. Okay, because it doesn't spin fast, that protein that gets in there, things like chicken, meat, anything like that, bones, it grinds at that disposal. Two issues with the slow spinning disposal: low warranty because that motor is binding. Additionally, loud noise. Okay. Now you also have this cartridge you have to maintain, and they're going to make a ton of money on it. So the lifetime cost. So one, it's expensive because they know you're marketing and you want it. Two, they get you on a lifetime hook of this enzyme cartridge that you're probably going to forget about refilling half the time. You're going to worry about it. And then the third issue is the thing doesn't last very long and it's loud. We have a disposal, and there's not a pitch for our disposal, because hear me out. I will tell you this: if you have a septic system, you should not do a disposal, period. That is truth. Okay. In the state of Massachusetts, it is gray. Okay. It says if you use it, you shouldn't use it often. It's let up to the town municipality to determine in that town what their stance is. 2 of the 3 towns I've lived in, if you had a septic system and did not have its own leaching field or its own septic, its own separate, almost like 2 septic systems, just one for the disposal, they wouldn't even give you a permit. Couldn't do it. They wouldn't sign off on the septic system. But in the case of this, I would say our disposal is also septic approved, if we want to talk about approved. And what makes ours that way is ours sells for about $150 less than the InSinkErator. It spins at 2,700 RPM, so 1,000 RPM more than the InSinkErator. It has a 10-year warranty versus a 1. There is no enzymes. What the concept of that is that very fast stainless steel grinding chamber and blade spins at such a high RPM. It's quiet because it doesn't bind on the food. It rips right through it. And it breaks down the protein to such a small amount because it's such a powerful viscerator that when it goes into your septic system, the proteins would be easily eaten up. Okay, so that's kind of the concept. The Septic Assist is going to spin 1,000 RPM, give a bigger pieces of proteins when you use them into the septic system, and you absolutely need that enzyme at that point. And I still would tell you that I don't believe that it works. I mean, it just doesn't. So, number 1, septic system, don't do one. And if you are, my honest opinion is get one with a very high RPM speed, and don't buy into the gimmick of the Septic Assist, injecting it and spending a lifetime worth of money. I don't believe you're getting anything for it.
All right. Good answer. So I think we have a new segment here we're going to try out, and we're going to try it out this week. So we're going to have a Yale problem of the week. So there's obviously we deal with a ton of customers, a lot of designers, contractors. Invariably, there's always these new things that pop up every week. They're like, okay, that's a problem that we're trying to help a customer, help a tradesperson out of a problem here. So we're going to try to bring those to you. These kind of some of these unique problems that we come up with from week to week. This week, the first one we're going to talk about is National Building Code requires cabinet bottoms are a minimum of 18 inches from the cooking surface. I only have 17.5 inches. Help. And the reason why we're seeing this a little bit more is customers, kind of like we talked a little bit about this last week, was people putting in extra thick countertops that's kind of rising those up a little bit. So if you have a cooktop sitting there and you're not paying attention to those upper cabinets, now you're under that 18-inch threshold. What do we do?
Correct. Yeah, we have 2 issues with counters right now. So we have this. We have people that want the style of a chunkier countertop as we expected. And normally before they do an 1.5-inch counter, and now they're doing 2, 2.5, 3. Yeah. These big chunky, which is great. I love the design of it, by the way. But you absolutely have to make sure that your cabinet person and your contractor in concert to know where to set that cabinet height. That's issue 1. So when it dips below, in this case, this person was at 17.5 inches. So they went from an 1.5-inch countertop to somehow in the design, somebody changed to 2 inches and never let the contractor know. Well, now it's 17 and a half inches mounted, beautiful custom cabinets all installed. And the inspector comes in, holds up the tape measure. And what we're talking about here is just, let's not be misled. We're not talking about the cabinet above the cooking unit, directly above it. That needs to be much taller than 18 inches. Yeah. We're talking about, you have a hood and then you have side cabinets coming down to the left and right of this hood. Those need to be 18 inches off the ground. Whether it's gas, whether it's electric, whether it's induction, all the same. That's a standard, that's a US building code, pretty much, right? Residential building code. Yeah. 17 and a half inches. You know, they were asking, can we get a manufacturer to sign a waiver? No one's going to sign off on the fact that you have a combustible and we may burn down your house. We hope you don't. And that, I'm not making ill, because this contractor is spectacular. He only does amazing work, but we don't have a solution for him. So the point was, it was big enough for him. He's important to us. It was something that, honestly, as an appliance person, we don't know how thick your counters are. And at a certain point, we ask a lot of great qualifying questions. Our job is to lead you where we can, but those decisions many times are made well after us. We wouldn't know to advise anyone. So really, you got to be your own advocate and make sure you have a minimum of 18 inches, or pay attention to that spec sheet and really make sure that when it talks to a combustible surface, you've really thought through what that means for you. Okay. Problem number one. We did it this week. We couldn't solve it, by the way. Cabinets need to be reordered. They got to raise the cabinets, whole thing. So.
Yeah, so definitely, like you said, something you absolutely want to pay attention to ahead of time. This week, we're going to go with 2 problems just to kind of kick this off. So Yale problem of the week number 2. And this is one we've definitely come across a few times. So I want a strong fan system, or, I've talked to my contractor about wanting the strongest fan system I can possibly get above my stove. And I'm thinking of a Fan Tech inline blower, and we hear that a lot. Is that something that's going to work with my hood, any hood?
Yeah, no, we get this a lot. People that have maybe had a bad experience before and have had awful ventilation, or they do like to cook a lot or entertain, just like Boston Bob was asking. They're trying to find something that's quiet in the home, but very powerful. Like, they're really trying to think about their project. So they actually go and research. And if you Google Fantech inline blowers, and there's other ones, it's a great blower, really made for HVAC, but an inline blower in spirit of what it does is a blower, right? So we have a lot of people that they'll go to an HVAC person, as they should, and say, hey, what should we put in? The HVAC person doesn't really know, but he uses Fantech all day, every day in HVAC systems. So he says, Fantech's a great brand, as it is. Let's mount this 1600 RPM, or CFM fan up in the attic. It's great. I use it all the time. You can't use a different brand blower, particularly, and we see it most times when it's inline or exterior, with, say, a Thermador. You couldn't use a Fantech with a Thermador, or with a Wolf, or with a GE, or any hood shell you have. The reason being is the relay switching, the actual leads, the wires themselves that talk to things like the lights on the hood shell, the knob that turns it off and on, the amperage, it's all wonky. It's not made to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. So it will never work. It voids the warranty and liability if you ever had a fire, anything that went on. So when we see it all the time, it's already installed. They're asking us, can I use it? I spent $2,000 putting this darn thing in because I'm serious about venting. And we got to say, absolutely not. There's nothing I can sell you that will work with it. Yeah. So just really know that you want to match system to system, blower to hood, brand to brand, so that they're going to work in the end and talk to each other.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I do want to answer Sean Powell out there. Sean's got my interest piqued. Says the appliance store we're working through, I don't know what area you're in, has most Bosch, just no dishwasher. True, there's a lot of Bosch available. Mm-hmm. Combi ovens, definitely not, Sean. So if you're doing a combi oven, we have a few, but they're not really well available in most brands. SKS has them, Studio has them. GE Profile and Caf, most GE Profile and Cafe available. That is definitely not accurate. Cafe is very hobbled. Profile is very hobbled, as is GE. And I guess maybe holistically I see it from a different perspective. They have thousands of SKUs. I would say they have less than 10% of their available inventory available. Now, available today and available tomorrow are two different things. At least in our market, there's 152 dealers, and most 152 dealers, this is all in New England, 152 dealers do not have their own warehouse. So what they're talking about is they're buying through a buying group, okay? We're a member of that same buying group. So we see that same stock. And I won't mislead you to say they have stock, right? We carry more on a daily, but they have stock for all these 150 dealers. That said, that stock is shared by 152 dealers in a FIFO fashion. First in, first out. You want to take it tomorrow, you got it. So when you got to be careful when any dealer says to you that it's in stock, it may be available in stock today. But your question is it going to be available when you want it, when you need it? That's the key question. So what's here today, I would tell you today in certain cases, wow, I have a ton of these. And tomorrow I'm going to tell you I have none of them and I have no ETA when they come in next. So that is just the fact of the business. Just be very careful to make sure you're paying attention to that. I just don't want anyone to be misled. LG and GE. But when we answer this question, whoever you spoke to there is not wrong here, Sean. In the middle of COVID, those two brands, GE proper, everything under the low label GE, Profile Cafe, and LG, they have been far from perfect, quite honestly, far. Any other day, we're roasting these companies for being awful. But in COVID, they have done the best job of fulfilling comparative to the Whirlpools of the world, which is just awful, or Frigidairs, or half these other companies out there. In the commodity space, those two brands have been able to at least get us some product, and they've been the best fulfilling considering the worst of times, but still don't want to mislead anyone on this call. They are not in stock across all brands. Absolutely not.
But some models here and there. But
let's give them credit for what they did do. They did support the brick and mortar, they did support the channel, and they did continue to try to find ways creatively, and we give them a lot of kudos for that. So not all wrong. I just don't want to mislead anyone that's reading the comment, depending on their market. Cool. Anything else?
I think we got one from Nate Yeagle. Profile versus KitchenAid dishwasher.
Hey, listen, it wouldn't be an episode without this Nate Yeagle kitchen. Nate, I'm coming to the house when this kitchen's done, because we've been working on this baby for about 4 months now. Profile the KitchenAid dishwasher. It's a good question, though. KitchenAid's a good dishwasher. Okay. The problem with most KitchenAid dishwashers, depending on the one you're looking at, is its VBL is very unique to itself. Okay. GE has made massive strides in its dishwasher lineup over the last 2 years. Really, primarily, much smoother ball bearings, much quieter, good wash systems. It always had it, but it never was hitting the marks on noise and racking systems. And really, now they added the microband system, which is a cool thing, which really aids in mold and mildew resistance. And that when you open up a GE profile today, you'll see all this blue. And the blue is microband. They have it in their laundry as well, top load, front load. They have an exclusive with microband really to resist that mold and mildew, which is a great thing in the front load washers. So they've kind of been this like dark horse that's come up. And in the middle of this, honestly, KitchenAid's had spotty availability. They've had the worst availability across a whole brand. So you can't get the refrigerator. So, you could get a standalone dishwasher maybe, but you couldn't get the stove, the wall oven, the cooktop. You couldn't time a project with KitchenAid. Actually, it's been awful. So Profile probably was the winner there, because it has a lot of pocket handle models that go well with lots of brands, not just GE Profile, can go really in any kitchen. And again, had some cool technology. So it's been a kind of a sleeper that's really been a kind of a pleasant surprise for us.
I think that's going to do it for this week. A lot of great questions we had before, a lot of great questions during. So as always, we appreciate that. Keep them coming after the show. We'll tee those up for next week as well. And again, thanks as always for participating. And Dennis, any final thoughts?
No, that's it. Listen, great questions. We rallied this week, folks. We appreciate it. Divine Stoneworks, you guys at least helped us look respectable after they had a big outpouring last week. So it was good to answer some questions from the field, and thank you as always. And keep them coming and keep posting our content so that we can get other folks like yourself out there asking great questions and pushing us to continue to answer them for you when it comes to all things appliance.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks, friend. Take care now.